Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the special edition of Wrestle AM, sexiest man on all Internet Wrestling Radio. Boom Boom here with the saucy little tart himself, LK. Breaking news coming out of the world of wrestling. Tabloid site TMZ just broke the news at 1 o'clock this morning on this St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 2016, that Sting, or Steve Borden, the man known as Sting, his wrestling career is over. Long story short, it was due to a couple of, he suffered what is referred to as cervical spinal stenosis. That's a condition that affects the nerves along your spinal column, which can result in extreme pain and discomfort. That came courtesy of a couple pair of buckle bombs by Seth Rollins at the Night of Champions pay-per-view back in December. So obviously, it was kind of like almost the same condition that affected Edge, but TMZ reporting that the future Hall of Famer who's going in just a few days now, roughly about, about 2 weeks, about roughly a couple of weeks, is hanging it up for good. It came as a shock to me. LK, I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Dude, why couldn't he have retired later on in the evening so we could have done it at normal time? Like, honestly, does he have any consideration for anyone? I think he's extremely selfish. Because of that, I have no respect for the man's career. His legacy is now tarnished, in my opinion. No, I'm only messing. Obviously, it's a tragic shame, but at the end of the day, it was kind of a good thing. Like, did we really want to see him go out there and do what happened to him with Seth Rollins at the Night of Champions pay-per-view, as you mentioned? I don't ever want to think I would feel comfortable watching him wrestle again. Mm-hmm. I think it was the right decision. Probably took him a while to figure it out, but, you know, he's got some conventions coming up, so he's going to make some money off of that. Also make some money from the Hall of Fame. Just hope he enjoys the rest of his life. Just retire, hang up the boots. Why not? Maybe he waited a while until the dust settled for the Daniel Bryan retirement, because the dust has kind of settled for that now. So, but the question is, will he be used as maybe an authority figure? Because I remember in TNA he did that.
Yeah, there's talk that Sting says he is open to a non-physical role with the company, but as far as I can tell, this just came out, so right now there's no word on what they'll do. I honestly don't see WWE not taking advantage of that and not offering him a role. I could see if they were ever to on camera usurp the authority, I could definitely see him be like in an authority role. He could do bare minimum, your standard Legends contract where he just makes special appearances at signings on particular episodes of Raw. Maybe just be healthy enough to hit like a Scorpion Death Drop every now and then.
I don't even think he needs to do that. I mean, if he's just an authority figure, he doesn't really need to do anything. I mean, when Hogan was with TNA, he didn't take one bump. Well, I think he might have took one bump, but it was very rare that he took a bump. He was just the authority storyline.
So, and this whole story is not even 12 hours old right now. It's the time of us recording this. So there's a lot of things that that they're going to need to be sorted out. But let's not be too terribly sad. He had a great career. Remember, he started out as the Blade Runners. He actually started out as Blade Runner Flash. He teamed up with a guy by the name of Jim Hellwig, who was Blade Runner Rock. He would later go on to become the Ultimate Warrior. That really went nowhere. He became Sting. He's known for his legendary feuds with Ric Flair. In fact, one of the first ever, the first ever really big feud that I ever watched as a kid back in the late 80s was Sting versus Ric Flair. They have one match. It was the first, I think it was the first main event on the first ever Clash of Champions. They went to a 45-minute draw. I remember he captured the title from Flair. I was a little Stinger back in the day. One of the feuds that I remember paying to see. I'm going to date myself here. I was 9 years old, and this is back when WCW's days. WCW was coming to town, and Sting was taking on Rick Rude for the United States Championship, and I wanted to go. In fact, I begged my mom to let my uncle take me, and so she relented and let my uncle take me and my younger brother And we were, oh my God, I think it was like 3-4 hours worth of tapings. But dude, I was having the time of my life. Absolutely loved it. I cheered. I mean, I remember this is way before he got that main event push. So I remember chanting, "We want Sting." I was a little Stinger. I remember that huge pop. They had a dusty finish. Rick Rude was managed by Paul E. Dangerously. And there was a spot where the referee got bumped and went down, and then Rick Rude tried to grab. Rick Rude grabbed Paul Heyman's that big ass fucking cell phone. This is back in the early '90s here. This huge cell phone, and Sting stopped him and clocked Rick Rude with it. Got the pin. This other referee came in and counted 1, 2, 3, and the whole roof blew off the Boutwell Auditorium that night. Everybody was just, oh God! I mean, he had done it. And then comes the dusty finish. The original referee said, no, 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 no. Sting hit him with the phone. He's disqualified. And they took the title away from him, and it was so disappointing. I remember that. In fact, that Halloween, I wanted to go. Well, this is actually another kind of funny story. I wanted to go with Sting, but the face paint. This is back to, this is early 90s. Face paint was not done correctly. It wasn't done exactly like it, so I refused to call myself Sting. I refused to, because the face paint was not done absolutely the way that he did it, and I was a perfectionist. And I was like, I am a disgrace. This is horrible. I do not deserve to call myself Sting, so I will not call myself Sting. I am just a wrestler. So that's he was definitely one of my favorites. Then he got the whole gimmick change in the wake of the NWO back in 1996. He spent like a whole year just not saying anything, hiding out for the Raptors, did a crow gimmick, and then it just stuck. He never got out of that, though. LK, let me ask you this. Knowing that what you know now, would you could, if for some reason you could get into Sting's ear or tell him, would you tell him not to go to WWE because he only had 2 matches, and both of those he lost. One of those was in extremely bad fashion. I'm talking about the match against Triple H in San Francisco. I mean, he just came. I mean, they tried to present it as WCW versus WWE, and they brought out DX, they brought out the NWO, then Triple H used some shenanigans, and he looked even worse. And so, knowing what you know now, would you have said, yeah, you know what, you need to sign that Legends contract, you need to go climb in the ring? What would you tell him?
Do it, because you don't want to be on your deathbed saying what if. Like, at least Sting now knows, you know what, I've done it. I've been at WrestleMania. I've done a pay-per-view. He's been on Raw. He's done it. What would be worse is if he's lying on a deathbed thinking, what if? What if? So now he can tick that off his list. I mean, my memories for Sting, obviously, I was born in 96, so obviously my memories are TNA, but I remember going back to watch WCW. And the only ones I'll ever watch are 97 and 98, because I'm a fan of that era, because I like the wrestling and the storylines that they presented. Anything past 98, I would legit rather watch TNA than watch that. And that's saying something. But TNA's been good recently, so I don't like bashing them. They've been really good recently. I digress. My memories for Sting are the Crow gimmick. Like, I remember because I had the Nitros and the Thunders from 97 to 98, and I remember watching them religiously. I remember my first ever pay-per-view was sold out in 98, and they replayed a video package of the first ever Thunder on January the 8th, 1998, and I remember the date because I remember it was such a great promo. They were announcing that they were vacating the world title because of what happened at Starrcade 97 with the Hogan and the Sting gimmick. And then Sting, for the first time in like 2 years, he gets the baseball bat. He goes, JJ Dillon. He's like, Hogan, I'll see you at Super Brawl. He puts the baseball bat to JJ Dillon's throat and says, you're a dead man. And it was such a great promo. I remember that specifically. But, I remember his title run being really lackluster. I mean, he won the title at Super Bowl 8 against Hogan in a really bad match. But Hogan and Sting never really clicked, in my opinion. They had a great storyline, but the matches always sucked. And, he retained it uncensored against Scott Hall in an OK match, then lost at Spring Stampede against Macho Man. That's all I've got, really, Sting memories from WCW. But I remember the build for that Starrcade 97 pay-per-view. I mean, the buy rate that show must have been out of this world. Like, it really must have done a great buy rate. But, I mean, his TNA run was meh. I mean, he put AJ over at Bound for Glory 09 really, really well. He didn't put Joe over at Bound for Glory 08, which I really don't... Whenever he won the strap, I always used to just cringe because he won it so many damn times and his runs were always so damn long. I mean, he won the belt at Bound for Glory 2008. he was still champion come he lost it to Lockdown '09. Like, that's nearly a whole year's worth of with the belt. Like, I think, in my opinion, he should have put people over more. I mean, I know he put AJ over, he put Magnus over. Apart from that, he didn't really put anyone over. So if I'm looking back at Sting's career, the one thing I would whisper in his ear, apart from don't go to WWE, which I would say go to WWE, because obviously you don't want to lie on your deathbed saying what if, is simply put people over more. Like, yeah, he put Seth Rollins over, but, you know, in TNA, he could have helped so much more. Like, imagine if he put Eric Young over. Like, imagine if he put Bobby Roode over. Imagine if he put James Storm over. Like, they would be megastars now. Instead, they're just, you know, I think the death of TNA, honestly, I might blame Sting. Like, I know Sting's not right in the show, but he could have said, look, let me put this guy over. I like this guy. Let me put him over. And I think he's a bit of a selfish prick, but I digress. It's the wrestling business. You're not going to complain if you're told you're given the world championship, are you?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I think he did a lot of favors. I think he helped out a lot of people in their careers. I just really wish they wouldn't screw with his WWE career. Because, I mean, the guy is, I mean, right now he's 56 years old. I mean, you could have known when they signed him that, you know, he wasn't going to have that long of a shelf life. He didn't have that many matches in him. And I just kind of hate that they kind of, you know, did him the way they did him. And it was just like, oh, no, just be patient. Just be patient. And it's like, I understand that. But you know the guy's going to work a limited schedule. He's only got so many matches on him. We really can't afford for you to, you know, we can't really afford to, you know, Joe, just give it time. Because he didn't have that much time. And I just hate that, you know, he's going to completely leave the WWE without a single one, with only 2 matches under his belt, both of them losses. Now, granted, you know, he lost to Seth Rollins, and you know that was a good match. I just hate that. I'll always remember for his WCW, or I think it was the NWA into WCW, that run. I didn't get to see too terribly much of his TNA run. I mean, I watched a little bit. I mean, the one that really sticks out to me right now was his feud versus Abyss.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and that was kind of a shady match. And I remember the big announcement when they made it. All they did was just put a chair in the ring with a baseball bat and a pair of boots, and oh my God, Sting's coming to TNA.
It's good. Not as good as Angle's debut. It's still a good one.
Oh, they kept
Nothing
that one
will
under
beat that
wraps.
debut.
So yeah,
Nothing will beat that debut.
They managed to keep that one under wraps. This one they weren't able to keep. They weren't able to keep Sting under wraps. But anything else you want to add here? Because this is I tell you what. Name some of your favorite Sting matches.
Oh well, I was a fan of Sting Scott Hall Uncensored '98. That's a really underrated match. Fucking hell, you got to remember the age difference. Like, to me, like 19 anything past 96, which is when I was born, is a bit dated. Like, okay, I'll watch some of the manias and stuff, but it's a bit dated. Like right now, for the VIPs, I'm in the middle of I just finished actually a what Raw was it? There we are, Raw December the 9th, 1996. That's the latest Raw Rewind. And that to me was just, okay, I can't go back further than that. Like, you know, there's a limit to where you can't go back further. Like, that's my limit. You're like pushing me at the edge. So, you know, Sting, when it comes to Sting, I think TNA days, and they're not some of the greatest memories of the world. Like, I mean, I liked his main event Mafia run. I did. I enjoyed that. I liked his match with Kurt Angle at Destination X09. I liked his stuff with AJ in the late part of 09. 2010, I loved his angle with Jeff Jarrett. That got really brutal. You know, it's just, I don't know. I've never been a big Sting fan. Like, I respect the guy. I fucking really do respect the guy. Don't get me wrong, respect everything. But my age, I think it affects my view on the guy. Because from what I've seen, I see this old man. Like, I've never seen Sting in his prime. Like, maybe I should go back and watch, you know, some Clash of the Champions or some early Halloween Havocs or something like that. It's just, when I watch that, it feels so dated. Like, for instance, on the network, sometimes it'll pop up like an old NWA show. I'll enjoy Rick Rude stuff. I'll enjoy, you know, Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair. I enjoy that stuff. It's just, I just don't care. It's just too old. Like, imagining I'm not even born then. It's like, it's like you going back and it's like you going back and watching something in the 1970s. You just wouldn't, would you? Because it's just that's really dated for you.
Yeah, I
That's
would
what's
have.
like for me
Yeah,
with
I would have
Sting's
no
stuff.
connection. But no, it's pretty interesting perspectives that we're bringing up here. And for those of you
Yeah.
just join us, just breaking news: TMZ reporting that Steve Borden, aka Sting, he's hired. He's hanging it up for good. He's supposed to formally announce his retirement in his Hall of Fame induction coming up on WrestleMania weekend. Cervical spinal stenosis is the prognosis, which is basically problems with the nerves along your spinal column. He suffered that during a couple pair of buckle bombs in a match against Seth Rollins back at Night of Champions in September of 2015. We're just kind of talking about his career. It's very interesting because LK, because he looks, LK's looking at his career, in the night, I don't think he ever knew, like, short, spiky blonde hair, colorful face paint Sting. He just knew the crow Sting, and me, I knew the. Some of my favorite is, he actually had the first and last match on Nitro. The very first match they had on Nitro from the Mall of America was Sting versus Ric Flair, and then that's when they debuted. Remember, they made that surprise appearance by Lex Luger. The very last match that they had on Nitro from Panama City Beach, Florida, Sting versus Ric Flair. He opened and closed the WCW era. Some of my favorite matches, of course, I've already mentioned. Ric Flair when he won the NWA Heavyweight Championship. I remember his feud with Rick Rude really put him in the spotlight. I remember when he won the WCW Championship from Lex Luger. That was a huge deal. His feuds with Vader that went all over the world. Again, his feud with Rick Rude. Then there was the Crow when he single-handedly took on the NWO. I really wasn't a huge fan of his run in TNA because maybe I'm still a little biased here. I'm not the biggest fan of TNA, but no, it was respectable. I remember he was being. God, people are going to think this is a fucking shot, but it's not. I remember him just being so damn professional when Jeff Hardy showed up to the ring high off his ass. He
Yeah.
was tripping fucking balls, and then there's just Sting and Bischoff is in there, and he whispers they get this shit over with quick as possible. And Sting just goes in there, pins him within like 90 seconds. So, but not great guy. I really hate that I never got a chance to meet him in person because that's somebody that I would really like to even still to this day I'd love to meet because I would just love to tell him like, look, I tried to be you for Halloween back when I was like 9. I mean, this is awesome. So, but
he'll do conventions. I'm pretty sure
oh
he'll
yeah,
do
he'll
conventions.
be fine. He's already making appearances with Independent Fed, Big Time Wrestling. He's got that coming up. Of course, I just mentioned the Hall of Fame induction.
He'll do fine. You'll probably see him at some show sometime
Yeah,
down the line.
yeah, he's got that. He's going to have a lot of good stuff going on, and he's going to do some kind of off-air role. I actually wouldn't mind him taking on like a mentor role, maybe something like NXT, and teach the baby faces how to be baby faces because he defined fucking baby face.
Dude, doesn't the guy live in Florida? Doesn't the guy live in Florida? Why doesn't he just fucking go to the performance center?
That's a good question. In fact, hell, I think everybody lives in fucking Florida.
I'll look it up. I'm pretty from Venice. No, that's fucking. I'm pretty sure that Sting lives in fucking Florida. Because if he is, like, why doesn't he go to? I'll quickly look it up. Why doesn't the guy become a trainer? Like, imagine learning from Sting. No, he lives in California. I think.
Well, I think he's originally from Venice Beach. There's a lot of people that are from different areas, but
Nah, he's from Dallas, Texas. He lives in
he lives in Dallas
strange.
now.
Yeah, strange place to live.
Dallas ain't too bad. I've been to Dallas once.
But if you could choose anywhere in England, you would choose. Sorry, in America, you would choose Dallas. Like that would be the last place on my mind. Like why would you go? Maybe then it's out of mind, out of sight. Maybe he just likes to be alone. He has a nice little.
I mean, trust me, you're not staying out of sight and out of mind in Dallas. Dallas is one of the biggest cities in the U.S.
Ready?
Oh yeah, Dallas is a top 10 market.
Oh, interesting. Didn't know that. See, we're in the learning tree here, Booms. We're in the learning tree.
Yes, we are. All right. I think this has gone a little too much here, but anything you want to wrap up with before I do some shameless self-promotion?
No, just, I'm kind of glad he's done it. Like, part of me is like, oh, I'll never get to see him wrestle again, or I'll never get to see him wrestle live, but I'm kind of happy that he's gone. Hang him up, just good for him. Good for him. I'm proud of him. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, I hate, these last couple of matches he had, but I don't think that does not redefine his career. He's got a great legacy. That's somebody that's a role model. That, like, if you want to be a fucking wrestler, I mean, that's what you point to. Like, dude, you need to do that, especially if you're a babyface. Do that.
Exactly, and he did the
Great
favors on the
wrestler.
way out. You know, Rollins can always say he ended Sting's career. Like, that's a good thing to have, especially if
Had the
it's
last
on his
match
heel
with
run.
him. Had his
Yeah,
last match.
yeah.
Nobody else in the world can say that.
Nope. Unless he does some fucking indie show. I fucking hope he doesn't know this Sting. If he won't wrestle for WWE, he won't wrestle anywhere. I'm pretty
I don't
convinced of
think
that.
he will, but all right. So, of course, if you're just now checking this out, this is KocoSports.com. Our home site's KocoSports.com. It's your home for combat sports. It's where the world kicks ass, and most importantly, where it's okay to be a passionate fan. You can also visit us at ProWrestling.me. That's right. It's not a .com. It's ProWrestling.me. It's kind of like the Facebook page for professional wrestling fans. We've got links to all kinds of news stories, blogs, forums. We've even got our links to all our videos there. You can like, subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We're trying to crank out at least a show a day, which I think we're going to meet that quota this week. We did a review last night at NXT. We've got reviews of Lucha Underground, Ring of Honor, SmackDown, TNA, Raw. We're going to have our coverage leading up to WrestleMania. We've got all that on the site, so be sure to like, subscribe to us, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And we'll see you a little bit later on down the line. So this is Boom Boom. And for my partners, LK and Dave Coco, I am over.